So today this parable starts, Luke, the gospel writer, the editor, had a lot to say about riches and poverty, and he really wasn't that much of a fan of riches. And in the kind of ancient, especially the first century world, there was an idea of what you would call, from an economic system, of a limited good, right? So if someone has more, someone else has to have less, right? This is a big piece of pie, and you take some, there's less for others, which may be a more helpful way than the idea we've had, which is just there's infinite growth and there's always more earth to extrapolate and take from. But so someone who is rich would have been perceived not so much like someone, idolized these days, but as someone greedy who had taken something that belonged to someone else. And then there was also, of course, a really strong structure of debt. A lot of people, we've talked about that, like, anthropologists think, the average person in the first century might have had 600 or 700 calories a day. I mean, they weren't, and you notice today, and people are not really large, especially people in Gaza right now. So there's just this really kind of being on the edge. And so that's kind of behind this, is a system where some people have benefited and some people are just barely hanging on. Then Jesus said to the disciples, so this is kind of addressed to the followers. It's addressed to us, right? There was a rich man who had a manager, and charges were brought to him that this man, the manager, was squandering his property. So he summoned him and said to him, "What is this I hear about you? Give me an accounting of your management," or sometimes the Greek is stewardship, "because you cannot be my manager any longer." Then the manager said to himself, "What will I do now that my master is taking the position away from me? I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm too ashamed to beg. I've decided what to do so that when I am dismissed as manager, people may welcome me into their homes." This is going to be a safety net, right? So summoning his master's debtors, people indebted, one by one he asked the first, "How much do you owe my master?" He answered, 100 jugs of olive oil. He said to him, "Take your bill, sit down quickly and make it 50. Then he asked another, "And how much do you owe?" And he replied, 100 containers of wheat. And he said to him, "Take your bill and make it 80. And his master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the children of this age are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than are the children of light. And I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of dishonest wealth, so that when it is gone, they may welcome you into the eternal homes." It's actually eternal tents or dwelling places. "Whoever is faithful in a very little is faithful also in much. Whoever is dishonest in a very little is dishonest also in much. If you have not been faithful with the dishonest wealth, who will entrust you to the riches? And if you have not been faithful with what belongs to one another, who will give you what is your own? No slave can serve two masters, for a slave will either hate the one and love the other, or be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth."